The rain outside the station never stopped. Cold drops hit the glass roof, and the sound echoed through the metal walls. Inside, a man named Daniel sat alone, waiting for his transport. He was a traveler, moving between colonies, always searching for work, always searching for a reason to stay. Life in space was cheap, and people were cheaper. But tonight, something was different. Daniel heard a soft voice, a whisper so faint he thought it was the wind. He turned his head, and in the corner of the waiting hall, someone stood. It was not a soldier, not a worker, not even a traveler. It was a girl, small, thin, and covered with a long cloth that hid her face. Her steps were slow, careful, like she was afraid to be seen. She whispered again, words that made his skin shiver. "I'm not clean," she said. Her voice carried pain, shame, and something else, something heavy. Daniel froze, his eyes fixed on her shadow under the flickering lights. He wanted to ask what she meant, but no words came. Instead, he felt his chest tighten, as if his heart already knew the answer. The girl moved closer, her cloth dragging against the dirty floor. Daniel noticed her hands, pale and trembling. There were marks on her wrists, like she had been chained before. Her whisper grew louder as she reached him. "I'm not clean, do you understand?" Daniel shook his head slowly. He tried to smile, to show her he was not a threat. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice calm but filled with unease. The girl stopped in front of him, and for a moment, he saw her eyes beneath the edge of the cloth. They were bright, too bright, like stars hidden underwater. But those eyes were filled with fear. The station was empty, silent, only the rain and the hum of old machines. Daniel realized they were alone. A strange thought came to his mind. Why would a girl like her be here, in a forgotten station at the edge of human space? Why was she whispering to him and not to anyone else? The girl lowered her head, her cloth slipping a little. Daniel leaned forward, his heart beating faster. For a second, he caught a glimpse of skin under the fabric. It was not like human skin. It glowed faintly, with lines running across it, like cracks of light. His breath caught in his throat. She pulled the cloth tighter, hiding herself, trembling. "You see now," she whispered. "I'm not clean." Daniel swallowed hard. He was no soldier, no doctor, just a man trying to survive. But in that moment, he felt a weight, a responsibility he never asked for. His instincts told him to walk away, to forget her. Yet his heart did not move. It stayed with her. He wanted to know her story. He wanted to know what pain made her speak like that. "Who did this to you?" he asked quietly. The girl shook her head, refusing to answer. She looked toward the exit, as if expecting someone to come. Daniel felt the tension. Something was wrong. It was not just about her. It was about what followed her. He could almost hear the echo of unseen footsteps, even though the hall was empty. The lights flickered again, and the sound of the rain grew louder. Daniel leaned closer, lowering his voice. "You don't have to be afraid of me," he said. The girl raised her eyes, and for the first time, he saw the tears forming in them. Her lips trembled, and she whispered one last time, "I'm not clean, but I have no one else." Daniel's heart shook. The cloth covering her body slipped just an inch more, enough to reveal another glimpse of glowing lines on her arm. Strange symbols that pulsed faintly like living veins of light. He gasped quietly, realizing this was no simple girl. This was something different, something dangerous, and something deeply broken. The silence between them was sharp. The moment stretched, and Daniel knew nothing would ever be the same after tonight. Because when the cloth finally fell, he would see the truth. And the truth could either save him or destroy him. The rain outside did not stop. It only grew stronger. The sound was like a warning, a constant drum that made Daniel's chest feel heavier. The girl stood in front of him, trembling under the cloth, her whispers still echoing in his ears. "I'm not clean," she had said again and again. But what did it mean, and why did those words cut so deep into his heart? Daniel wanted to ask more, but the girl stepped back. Her thin frame swayed, like she was about to fall. He reached forward, steadying her arm, and when his hand touched the fabric, he felt a strange heat. It was not the warmth of skin, but the pulse of something alive beneath. He quickly pulled his hand away, startled, but his eyes did not leave her. You are human," he said, half as a question, half as hope. She shook her head slowly, her voice no louder than the rain outside. "Not fully, not anymore. Her fingers clutched the cloth tighter, but Daniel could see the faint glow slipping through the fabric. Like cracks in stone where light escapes, the truth was trying to break free. Daniel's heart raced. He had seen soldiers scarred from war. He had seen workers burned in accidents. But never had he seen marks that glowed, alive and strange. "Who did this to you?" he asked, his voice firmer now. The girl's lips parted, but fear closed them again. Instead, she turned her head, her eyes scanning the empty station like shadows might rise from it. Her silence spoke more than words. Something hunted her, something had marked her, and Daniel knew he was now part of it. "Listen," he whispered, leaning closer. "Whatever you think you are, whatever they did to you, you are not alone now." For a moment, her eyes softened, as if she wanted to believe him. Then she slowly reached for the edge of her cloth. Daniel's breath caught. The world around him seemed to freeze. The fabric slipped, just enough to show the edge of her shoulder. The glow was brighter there, forming patterns, not random, but deliberate. Lines curved across her skin like symbols, like writing carved into flesh. They pulsed softly, alive with light. Daniel's eyes widened, and his heart sank. Not because it was ugly, but because it was beautiful and tragic at the same time. "These marks," he whispered, "they look like code." The girl pulled the cloth back quickly, shaking her head, tears glistening in her eyes. "They call it contamination," she said, her voice trembling. "They say I am not pure, not clean, that I carry the sickness of machines." Daniel frowned, trying to make sense of her words. "You mean, you are part machine?" Her silence was the answer. She lowered her head, shame heavy in her every breath. Daniel felt anger rising inside him, not at her, but at whoever had done this. Why would anyone mark a child like this? Why would anyone make her believe she was unclean? "You are not sick," he said firmly, his voice echoing in the empty hall. "You are alive. That is what matters." The girl looked up at him, her lips parting in shock. No one had ever told her that before. He could see it in her eyes. And in that moment, Daniel realized the truth. It was not the girl who was broken. It was the world that had broken her. But before he could say more, a sharp sound cut through the rain. The hiss of hydraulics, the heavy clank of boots on metal. Daniel froze, his instincts warning him. The girl's body stiffened, her eyes filled with terror. "They found me," she whispered, clutching his arm, her nails digging into his sleeve. Her cloth slipped again, the glow flaring brighter under the dim station lights. There was no more time for secrets, no more time for whispers. Daniel turned toward the noise. The shadows of armored figures moved at the far end of the hall. Soldiers, their helmets reflecting the glow of overhead lamps, their steps heavy and sure. The girl pulled on his arm, desperation in her trembling voice. "You must not let them see me. If they do, they will take me away, and you will never see me again." Her words struck him like a blade. He had only just met her, yet he felt the bond already carved into his heart. The footsteps drew closer, the sound of weapons unlocking followed. Daniel's mind raced, his breath quickened. This was not his fight. He should walk away, let her be taken, survive. But his heart refused, because the truth was clear now. Her words, "I'm not clean," were not just about her body. They were about her fate. A fate written by others, a fate he could still change. The girl's eyes locked on his, glowing faintly with the light beneath her skin. Her whisper was urgent, filled with both hope and despair. "Please do not let them take me." Daniel's fists clenched, and in that moment, he knew what he had to do. The soldiers' footsteps echoed like hammers against the hollow station floor. Their voices were sharp, mechanical, filtered through helmets. Daniel pulled the girl closer to the shadow of a broken pillar, hiding her trembling form. His heart pounded in his chest, louder than the rain outside. The girl clutched his sleeve, her glowing marks pulsing brighter with fear. "They are not just soldiers," she whispered, her voice shaking. "They are hunters. They come for me, always for me." Daniel frowned, confused and angry at the same time. "Why you?" he asked. "What makes you so important?" The girl's lips quivered, and for a moment she said nothing. Her silence was heavier than the storm outside. Finally, she whispered, "Because of what I carry." Daniel leaned closer, his voice urgent but gentle. "What do you carry?" Her eyes lifted, and he saw sorrow so deep it made him forget the soldiers for a moment. My body is not only mine, she said. They used me, changed me, broke me, until I was not clean anymore. Her words cut through him. Daniel's mind filled with images of experiments, chains, and cold hands forcing pain on her. It was no sickness, no curse, it was cruelty. Humans had done this. Or maybe aliens, or both. She was a child of broken worlds, torn between flesh and machine, between life and design. And they hunted her not because she was dangerous, but because she was proof. Proof of what power could do to innocence. The soldier's lights scanned across the hall, beams slicing through the shadows. Daniel pressed himself closer to the pillar, holding the girl's hand. Stay quiet, he whispered, stay with me. Her trembling slowed, though her breath still came fast. She closed her eyes and whispered back. Why help me, human? You could walk away. Daniel's jaw tightened. He wanted to say he didn't know, but the truth burned inside him. Because she reminded him of something he had long buried. Years ago, Daniel had seen his own sister taken during a raid. She was never returned. Only whispers of her fate reached him. Experiments, camps, disappearances, the words haunted him. And now this girl, this stranger with glowing scars, stood in front of him. How could he walk away again? The soldiers grew closer, their boots heavy against the metal. One of them stopped, raising a scanner. The device hummed, lights flashing red as it detected energy in the air. Contamination reading. The soldier's voice growled through the helmet. Daniel felt the girl stiffen, her glowing marks brightening like fire trapped under glass. He squeezed her hand, shaking his head. Don't move, he whispered. Don't let them hear you. But it was too late. The scanner beeped louder, and the soldier barked orders. Target detected, Sector 7, move in. The others shifted their weapons, the metallic click echoing through the hall. The girl's tears spilled, silent and heavy. They will never stop, she whispered. They will chase me until I am gone. Daniel looked at her, really looked at her. She was fragile, broken, scarred by a cruel world. And yet, beneath the glowing marks and trembling hands, he saw strength. She had survived when others would not. She had carried her pain alone, whispering her shame into the dark. But now she was not alone. You are not unclean, Daniel said firmly, his voice cutting through the storm and the footsteps. You are not what they say. You are alive. And that makes you more human than any of them. Her eyes widened, glowing faintly as if his words lit something inside her. For the first time, she did not look away. Instead, she whispered, if you believe that, then you must run with me. The soldiers closed in, beams of light sweeping toward their hiding place. Daniel felt his pulse race, his body tensing for a choice. He could let her go, survive alone, or he could fight a battle that was never his. But deep in his chest, he knew the answer already. He would not let history repeat itself. Not again, not while he could still fight. The girl's grip on his hand tightened, her glow spreading like veins of light beneath the cloth. The soldiers shouted commands, preparing to strike. Daniel pulled her closer, whispering in her ear, then we run, together. And as the first beam of light swept over the pillar, Daniel moved. The storm outside roared louder, and the night swallowed them whole. The storm outside the station screamed like a living beast. Lightning flashed beyond the cracked glass, throwing white light across the metal walls. Daniel ran, pulling the girl with him, their footsteps slamming against the hollow floor. Behind them, the soldiers shouted orders, their boots pounding closer, weapons charging with a cold hum. The girl stumbled, her cloth dragging, her small frame shaking under its heavy folds. Daniel caught her before she fell, his arms steady around her thin shoulders. Keep moving, he whispered, his voice sharp with urgency. We cannot stop now. But her breaths came fast, ragged, her glowing marks flashing brighter with every step. The light slipped through the edges of her cloth, betraying them in the shadows. A soldier's beam caught them for a second. Target confirmed. The metallic voice roared, do not let it escape. The girl cried out softly, clutching the cloth tighter around her body. Her fear was raw, but her shame was stronger. She did not want them to see what she was. And yet, Daniel realized with growing dread, it was already too late. A sudden blast hit the wall near them, sending sparks and fire across the corridor. Daniel shielded her with his body, pushing her forward through the smoke. The cloth tore at the side, slipping from her shoulder. And in that moment, Daniel saw more of her than ever before. Her skin glowed like cracked glass lit from within. Symbols curved across her flesh in perfect lines, not drawn by hand, but etched deep as if the universe itself had carved them. Each mark pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat, alive, vibrant, and heartbreaking. Daniel's chest tightened, his eyes locked on her, not in horror, but in grief, in awe, in something he could not name. Her words returned to him, soft as a ghost. "I'm not clean." The cloth slipped further as she stumbled again. Her arm was bare now, shining with patterns like rivers of light running under her skin. Her tears mixed with the glow, falling like drops of fire onto the floor. Daniel's heart shattered at the sight, not because she was strange, but because she believed herself ruined. Because she had carried this burden alone, hiding under a cloth, fearing the world's eyes. "You are not unclean," Daniel whispered, his voice breaking. "You are not broken. You are beautiful." The girl's eyes widened, her lips trembling. For the first time, she did not whisper shame. Instead, she whispered his name, as if clinging to it like a lifeline. "Daniel." The soldiers closed in, their weapons raised. One shouted, "Contaminated asset must be secured. Use force if necessary." Daniel felt fury surge through him. To them she was not a person, not a life, only an asset. He stepped in front of her, his arms spread, his voice a growl. "You will not touch her." The soldiers hesitated, their scanners glowing red as they focused on her. The marks on her body pulsed brighter, reacting to the danger. Energy built in the air around them, humming like thunder trapped in a cage. Daniel turned his head, and to his shock, he saw fear not only in her eyes but in the soldiers' stance too. They were afraid of her, afraid of what she carried. And maybe she was afraid of herself. Her cloth finally fell, torn and burned from the blast. She stood bare in the broken light, glowing like a living star. Her body was covered with patterns of light, flowing like constellations across her skin. Every symbol told a story, every mark a wound and a gift. Daniel stared, his breath stolen, his heart torn apart. Not because she was monstrous, but because she was more human than anyone he had ever met. Fragile, scarred, yet still alive, still standing. The girl lowered her head, shame pulling at her voice. "This is why I hide. This is why they call me unclean." Daniel stepped closer, his hand gentle under her chin, lifting her gaze. "No," he said firmly. "They call you unclean because they fear you. They fear the strength they cannot control. But I do not fear you." Her tears fell faster, glowing in the dim light. For the first time, her trembling slowed. For the first time, she did not hide. But the moment could not last. The soldiers shouted again, advancing with weapons ready. Daniel's body tensed, his mind racing. There was no more time for comfort, no more time for words. The girl's light flared suddenly, brighter than before. The air shook, the walls groaned. The storm outside roared in answer. The soldiers staggered back for a second, caught in the sudden force. Daniel looked at her in shock. "What are you?" he whispered. Her glowing eyes met his, and her answer was soft, but filled with power. "I am what they made me, and what they fear." And with those words, the hall exploded with light. The blast of light faded slowly, leaving the air heavy with smoke and heat. The soldiers staggered, some falling to their knees, their scanners crackling with static. Daniel stood frozen, his arms still shielding the girl, even though her power had shielded them both. His ears rang, his chest heaved, but his eyes never left her glowing form. She stood trembling, her bare skin marked with rivers of light, her breath shallow and uneven. Her eyes glowed faintly, dimming as if the power drained her. Daniel caught her as she swayed, pulling her close before she collapsed. Her whisper reached him, soft and broken. "This is why they hunt me. This is why I cannot stay. I am too dangerous." Daniel shook his head, gripping her shoulders firmly. "No, you are not dangerous. They only fear what they cannot control." Her tears glistened, falling against his chest. "You don't understand," she whispered. "Wherever I go, death follows. Whoever helps me is destroyed." Daniel's heart twisted, the weight of her words crushing him. But still, he could not let go. The soldiers recovered, their leader raising his weapon with a steady hand. "Step away from the contaminated subject," the voice ordered, metallic and cold. Return the asset or be terminated. Daniel's jaw tightened, anger burning through his fear. He looked from the soldiers to the girl, his mind racing. This was his choice: walk away and live, or stand and fight for someone the universe had abandoned. The girl pulled weakly at his arm, whispering, "Let me go. If they take me, they will spare you. You don't have to die for me." Daniel leaned close, his voice fierce but quiet. "I already lost someone once because I did nothing. I will not lose you too." Her glowing eyes widened, searching his face. She saw no hesitation, no lie, only a man broken by the past, but unwilling to repeat it. For the first time, her lips curved in the faintest shadow of a smile. It was fragile, like glass, but it was real. The soldiers advanced, their weapons humming with lethal energy. Daniel knew he had no gun, no armor, nothing but his body and his will. Still, he stepped in front of her, his arms spread wide. "If you want her," he shouted, his voice echoing through the broken hall, "you go through me." The leader paused, his visor reflecting Daniel's defiance. For a moment, there was silence, only the storm's roar outside. Then the soldier raised his hand, signaling his men, "Terminate the human." The girl gasped, clutching Daniel's arm. "No," she cried, her voice filled with panic. "Not him, please." Her marks flared again, brighter, responding to her fear. The soldiers hesitated, their scanners spiking with warning signals. "She's unstable," one muttered. "If she triggers again, the whole sector burns." Daniel glanced at her, his heart torn. He could see the truth now. Her power was not only her curse, but also her shield. And if he chose wrong, she could destroy everything, including herself. "Listen to me," he said, turning to her, his voice firm but gentle. "You are not alone anymore. You don't have to fight this by yourself, but you have to trust me. Do you understand?" Her glowing eyes locked on his, searching, trembling. Finally, she nodded, whispering, "I trust you." The soldiers raised their weapons in unison, aiming for Daniel. Time slowed, his heart beat like thunder. He had made his choice, but choice alone was not enough. He needed a plan, and he needed it now. The girl pressed against his side, her marks glowing brighter. He realized something. Her power was linked to her emotions. Fear made it violent, grief made it unstable, but hope, maybe hope could guide it. He leaned close, whispering in her ear, "Do not fear them. Focus on me. Focus on the thought that you are free." Her breath caught, her tears slowed. She closed her eyes, clutching his hand. The glow shifted, softening, becoming steady like the heartbeat of a living star. The air calmed. The storm seemed to quiet for a moment. The soldiers' scanners went wild, alarms blaring. "She's stabilizing," one shouted. "Contain her before she gains control." Daniel smirked grimly, pulling her toward the side passage. "Too late," he muttered, and together they ran. Blaster fire tore through the walls behind them, sparks and smoke filling the air. But the girl's glow illuminated their path, guiding them through the darkness of the collapsing station. Behind them, the soldiers cursed and followed. Ahead of them lay only more danger, more unknown. But Daniel no longer doubted his choice. For better or worse, he had chosen her, and he would carry that choice until the very end. The station shook as if the storm outside had broken through its walls. Daniel pulled the girl down the narrow passage, her glow casting long shadows across the steel. Behind them, the soldiers gave chase, their weapons firing blasts that scorched the walls and filled the air with sparks. The echo of boots grew louder, closer, relentless. The girl stumbled, weak from using her power. Daniel caught her, his grip strong, his voice steady though his heart raced. "Stay with me, just a little longer," he urged. Her glowing eyes lifted to his, filled with both fear and trust. "I will try," she whispered, her voice soft but determined. They reached a broken maintenance door. Daniel forced it open with a grunt. The smell of burned wires and oil hit them. The corridor beyond was dark, lit only by the faint glow of her body. He guided her inside, closing the door behind them. The silence was brief, broken by the sound of metal clanging as soldiers struck the other side. "They will not stop," she whispered, her voice trembling. "They will burn this whole place to ashes if they must." Daniel clenched his jaw, his mind racing. He had no weapon, no armor, but he had his will. And more than that, he had her. Not as a weapon, but as someone worth saving. They will not take you, he promised, his voice low and fierce. Not while I breathe. Her light flickered at his words, steadying as if his strength flowed into her. For a moment, Daniel forgot the soldiers, the storm, the danger. He saw only her, fragile, scarred, yet carrying the strength of fire within her. He knew then that she was not a curse. She was hope wrapped in pain. The door burst open. Soldiers stormed in, weapons raised. Daniel pushed the girl behind him, his body tense. Blasts of energy ripped through the corridor, searing past them. The girl cried out, clutching his arm. Her glow flared, but Daniel's voice cut through her panic. Do not let fear control you. Focus on me. Focus on freedom. Her trembling slowed. Her marks pulsed in rhythm. Then the air around them shifted. A wave of heat rolled out, pushing the soldiers back. Their weapons crackled, some failing, sparks flying from their circuits. The girl stood straighter now, light flowing steady across her body. Her voice was stronger, though still soft. They will not take me, not anymore. The soldiers regrouped, their leader barking orders. Contain the asset, do not let it escape. But Daniel saw hesitation in their movements. They feared her now, feared the fire they could not control. He pulled her hand, guiding her deeper into the station. Corridors twisted, lights flickered, the storm's roar leaking through cracks in the ceiling. The station was dying, collapsing piece by piece. Yet Daniel pressed on, each step fueled by the choice he had made. She followed, her glow lighting the path like a beacon. They reached a broken hangar, wide and open, the roof torn where lightning lit the sky. Old ships rested like corpses, burned and rusted. Daniel scanned quickly, spotting one small craft that looked intact. If we can reach that, we might get out, he said. The girl nodded, but her eyes flicked to the shadows. They are here, she whispered, and she was right. The soldiers poured into the hangar, surrounding them on platforms above. Their weapons glowed, ready to strike. The leader's voice boomed across the space. Do not resist, contaminated subject. Surrender and your death will be swift. Resist, and it will be slow. Daniel stepped forward, his fists clenched. You will not have her, he shouted, his voice echoing across the hangar. The soldiers aimed, but before they fired, the girl moved. Her glow surged, brighter than ever. She stepped beside Daniel, no longer hiding, no longer trembling. If they want fire, she whispered, her voice carrying like thunder, then they will have it. The air cracked, light burst from her like a storm. The soldiers staggered, their visors flashing red, their weapons failing. Flames of energy rippled across the hangar, shaking the broken ships. Daniel shielded his eyes, but his heart pounded with awe. She was no longer the girl who whispered shame. She was something greater, something they could not cage. But the power burned her too. Her body trembled, her knees buckled. Daniel caught her as she fell. Her glow flickered, dimming with exhaustion. I cannot hold it, she gasped, her voice weak. If I keep going, I will burn myself away. Daniel's throat tightened, his choice heavier than ever. If she unleashed all of it, the soldiers would be destroyed, but so would she. If she stopped, they would both be captured. His mind screamed with the weight of the decision. His heart knew only one truth. He would not let her die. He held her close, whispering fiercely, Stay with me. We will find another way, I promise. But promises alone could not stop the soldiers as they regrouped. Weapons raised once more, their leader stepping forward. End this now, the voice commanded coldly. And in that instant, Daniel realized the final choice was upon them. The hangar shook under the weight of the storm and the girl's fading power. Her glow dimmed, flickering like a dying flame, her breath shallow against Daniel's chest. Around them, the soldiers advanced, weapons raised, their leader's voice echoing cold and merciless. Surrender the asset. Human, this is your last chance. Daniel's body tensed, his mind torn. If she unleashed her full fire, the soldiers would be reduced to ash, but she would burn with them. If she surrendered, they would drag her away, chain her, and erase what little life she still had. Every choice led to loss, and Daniel felt the weight crushing him. The girl clutched his sleeve weakly, her glowing eyes searching his face. Daniel, she whispered, her voice like broken glass. Don't fight for me. I am not worth it. Let me go. Daniel's chest tightened, his heart twisting with pain. Don't ever say that, he hissed, his voice shaking with anger and grief. You are worth everything. You hear me, everything. Tears spilled from her glowing eyes, falling like drops of light. For the first time, her lips curved into a true smile, fragile and real. No one ever said that to me, she whispered. Not once, not ever. Daniel's throat burned, but he forced his voice steady. Then remember it now, and never forget, you are not unclean, you are not broken, you are alive. The soldiers raised their weapons, their leader barking the order. Fire. But before the blast could fall, the girl stepped forward. Her glow surged, not wild this time, but calm, steady, controlled. Daniel's eyes widened as he felt the heat rise, not as fire, but as light wrapping around them both. She looked at him one last time, her eyes soft, filled with sorrow and love. Promise me, she whispered, when I am gone, you will live. Promise me you will carry me with you. Daniel shook his head, gripping her hand tightly. No, don't say that. We can find another way. Stay with me. Her tears glowed brighter, her whisper softer. I cannot stay, Daniel, but I can give you freedom. The light burst outward, flooding the hangar like a rising sun. Soldiers cried out, blinded, their weapons melting in their hands. The storm outside roared, lightning answering her call. The ground split, fire and wind swirling in a storm of raw power. Daniel clung to her hand, shouting her name. But her body grew lighter, her form fading in the blinding glow. She leaned close, her lips near his ear, her final whisper trembling but strong. Thank you for seeing me. And then she was gone. The light vanished in an instant, leaving silence, smoke, and ruin. The hangar was shattered, soldiers scattered unconscious, their leader's armor cracked and broken. Daniel staggered to his knees, his arms empty, his chest hollow. The space beside him was silent. Only the faint memory of her glow remained. His heart felt torn open, yet inside the pain was also a strange warmth. Her final words echoed in him, a promise that she had lived, even for a moment, in freedom. He rose slowly, broken but unyielding. He walked through the wreckage, past the fallen soldiers, past the ruined machines. The storm outside had calmed, the night sky clearing, stars shining through. Daniel looked up, his eyes wet, his voice quiet. I will carry you always. And though the universe had taken her, it had also left him with something no storm, no army, no cruelty could erase. A memory, a promise, a final whisper that turned sorrow into strength. Daniel stepped into the night, not as a man running anymore, but as a man who had chosen to fight, chosen to love, chosen to remember. Her light would never fade, not while he still breathed, and the world would never again tell him, or her, that she was unclean,